Chapter 1. Blood Moon at Dusk. The night bled red across the forests of Wallachia. The sun had drowned behind the Carpathian peaks, and a blood moon rose, fat, pulsing, and full of omen. The horns of King Dragos echoed through the trees, summoning his knights to the hunt. Hooves thundered, torches burned, wolves howled back, not in fear, but in challenge. Among them ran a creature that no man had yet captured, the last pure Alpha, ruler of the Shadow Pack. They called him Varyn. The villagers called him the Wolf of God. But tonight, even the Alpha King would bleed. In the chaos, King Dragos's arrow struck a shadow. The beast fell. His knights closed in, until they saw eyes not of a beast, but of a man, silver gray, burning with pain. Varyn shifted, half-human, bleeding. "End it," he whispered, his voice trembling between growl and grief. But Dragos hesitated. He saw in those eyes something he had not seen in years: sorrow. Mercy, in that moment, became treason. The king lowered his bow. "Run," he said softly, "before my men find courage again." That choice, to spare the Alpha, would curse his bloodline forever. By dawn, the hunt was legend. The king returned home to find his castle under siege by plague and death. His wife, Queen Evelina, had died giving birth to a daughter. The child lived, pale, silent, marked by the crescent of a wolf's tooth on her wrist. The court whispered that the curse had entered through mercy, that the blood moon had chosen its vessel. The king buried his wife at dusk and named the girl Evelina, life from ashes. None knew that far in the forest, the Alpha who had been spared could still smell the child's scent on the wind. Varyn healed under moonlight, his body reborn through agony. He felt the pull, a tether in his chest, ancient and burning, a mark of debt. In sparing him, the king had bound their destinies. The Alpha could not rest until balance was restored. He whispered a vow to the forest, voice breaking. "When she comes of age, I will claim what was promised." The trees bent with the weight of his words. The moon seemed to pulse in answer. Somewhere in the castle, the infant stirred and howled. Years later, monks recorded that night in crimson ink. "When the moon turns to blood, the Alpha shall seek his breeder, the one born of mercy." None understood what it meant, but those who lived that night never forgot the sound. One cry of a newborn, one howl of a king of beasts, rising together under the blood moon's light. The legend had begun, and mercy had already sown its doom.
Chapter 2. The Child of Mercy. Snow fell like ash over the citadel of Ardil. The year was 1397, and the kingdom had begun to rot from within. Wolves had returned to the borders, hunting not livestock, but soldiers. The priests call it divine punishment. The king called it rebellion. And in the midst of it all was Evelina Dragos, now 16, pale as moonlight, quiet as snowfall. She moved like one born between two worlds. Courtiers avoided her. Horses panicked near her scent. Only the old nurse, Marta, whispered comfort. "You were born when the moon bled," she said softly. "It marked you, child, not for death, but destiny." Outside the window, a single wolf howled, and Evelina's eyes flickered silver. At dawn, Evelina rode alone beyond the palace walls, against her father's order. She followed a sound, faint, rhythmic, almost like a heartbeat. The forest was ancient, draped in mist and bone-white birch. Then she saw him, a man cloaked in black furs, tall, eyes the color of molten iron. He did not speak, yet his presence filled the clearing. "You shouldn't be here," she said, but her voice trembled more from recognition than fear. The man stepped forward. "Neither should you, child of mercy." Her hand went to her wrist. The crescent mark burned. When she looked up, he was gone, leaving only paw prints in the snow. That night, King Dragos gathered his council. His hair had turned to winter, his eyes hollowed by guilt. He had seen too many of his men mauled, too many of his villages burned. He had spared one monster and birthed another. "Seal the forests," he commanded. "Let no soul pass beyond the Iron River." But deep down, he knew the forest was already inside his castle. Evelina's dreams grew wild, moonlit hunts, silver fangs, a voice whispering her name from the dark. "When the red moon returns, you will remember me," it said. Far from Ardil, in the abbey of Sigasawara, Brother Tomas found an old parchment sealed with blood. It bore the Dragos crest and a single line of prophecy. "The mercy of a king shall birth the doom of men." He took it to the bishop, who paled and ordered silence. But secrets are like fire. They burn their way out. Within weeks, the story spread. Peasants whispered that the princess was not human, that she would breed a new race under the red moon. Some prayed for her salvation, others prayed for her death. Evelina stood on her balcony, watching the snow swallow the horizon. Below, torches flickered, angry voices rising from the square. "Burn the witch! End the curse!" Her father's guards held them back, but the hatred in their cries was older than fear itself. She turned her eyes to the forest, the same one she had seen in her dreams, and there, for a heartbeat, she saw him again, the man, the wolf, watching her from the shadows. When their eyes met, the world went silent. A single snowflake landed on her wrist, glowing like silver fire. The mark pulsed. The prophecy had awakened.
Chapter 3. The Wolf Beyond the Gate. The winter broke early that year. Snow melted into mist, cloaking the valley like breath from the mouth of a sleeping god. At the gate of Ardial, a stranger arrived, dressed as a noble from the northern tribes, claiming allegiance to no crown. His name, he said, was Lord Varyn of Skara. None recognized it, though the old guards felt their bones tighten at his presence. He bowed low before King Dragos, his voice deep, even, almost melodic. "Your Majesty," he said, "I come with knowledge of the wolves that haunt your borders." The king's eyes narrowed. "Then you are either a hunter or one of them." Varyn's lips curved, a hint of both truth and mockery. Perhaps both. At supper, the court murmured of the northern lord, his poise, his quiet strength, the strange way torches dimmed when he passed. Evelina watched him from across the hall. Something in her heart throbbed with recognition. He met her eyes only once, and in that instant she saw the forest again, the blood moon, the howling wind. The minstrels sang, but she could hear only her pulse, wild and trembling. When the feast ended, she slipped away to the garden. Moments later, he was there. "You should not follow me," she whispered. "I didn't," he said, stepping into moonlight. "You called me." Dragos could not rest. He had seen that look before, in beasts cornered by mercy. His spies reported that the noble's men carried no sigil, no banner, and no iron weapons, only bone, carved with runes. That night, the king ordered his captain to watch the strangers' quarters. Yet when they entered, the room was empty, bed untouched, window open to the forest. But something else remained, a claw mark on the stone wall, deep enough to draw blood from the palm. Dragos's heart froze. The past had returned to claim its debt. Evelina knelt before the chapel's altar, the candles trembling in unseen wind. "God of mercy," she whispered, "tell me what I am." Behind her, footsteps echoed softly. "You are both mercy and curse," said a voice. She turned. It was Varyn, bare-headed, his eyes glowing faintly gold. "Your father spared me," he said. "That mercy chained me to your blood. When the moon bled, you were born, not to die, but to renew what was broken." Evelina shook her head, tears shining. "You're a monster." He stepped closer, his voice breaking. "Then so are you." Lightning split the sky as thunder rolled across the hills. Varyn took Evelina's friend, pressing it to his chest. Beneath his ribs, his heart beat like a drum of war. "Our worlds are dying," he said. "Your people fear what they do not understand. Mine have forgotten what it means to love." His breath trembled against her skin. "Only together can we end the hunger." Evelina's eyes filled with both terror and yearning. "And if I refuse?" she asked. "Then the moon will choose for you." Outside, wolves howled in unison. Inside, the candles went out. When light returned, she was alone, but the scent of wild earth lingered, and her wrist burned brighter than ever before. Chapter 4. The War of Shadows. The bell of Ardiel rang thrice, the sound that meant war. At sunrise, King Dragos stood before his soldiers, his armor blackened with oil, his voice trembling with fury. "The beasts have returned," he declared, "and they wear the faces of men." Behind him, a pyre burned, the remains of a village torn apart near the Iron River. He did not speak of the tracks leading away from the bodies, nor the claw mark carved into the church door. In his heart, he already knew whose hand guided them. The stranger from Skara had vanished. Only his name lingered, whispered like a curse. Varyn. The king's mercy had come back as vengeance. Evelina stood at the castle gates, watching soldiers march toward the forest with silver-tipped spears. Her heart screamed to stop them. "Father, you don't understand. The wolves are not all evil." Dragos turned on her, eyes blazing. "Evil needs no justification," he roared. "I spared one once, and it cost me everything." Evelina flinched. "Perhaps mercy cost you nothing. Perhaps it saved you." His jaw tightened. "Enough." He ordered her confined to her chambers. That night, she paced like a caged spirit, the mark on her wrist pulsing to the rhythm of the drums of war. Outside her window, the forest flickered with distant firelight, and somewhere within it, she felt him watching. The soldiers reached the Iron River by midnight. The forest was too quiet. Then came the wind. Low, guttural, like a growl rolling through the trees. Shadows moved between the trunks. Arrows flew. Men screamed. Wolves, but not of this world, towering, humanoid, their eyes glowing with intelligence. They fought not as beasts, but as brothers defending their kin. Steel clashed with claw, silver burned in the air. In the chaos, Captain Radu struck down one of the wolves and saw it change as it fell. A young man, barely 20, terrified. "Mercy," he whispered, before dying. Radu froze, sword shaking in his hand. The war had no monsters, only victims. Far from the battlefield, deep in the mountain caverns, Varyn stood before his council, the ancient alphas who had ruled before him. "The time of hiding ends," he said. "The humans burn our kin." An elder growled.
Then let them burn with us." Varyn's voice dropped to a growl. "No, there is another way. The bloodline can be renewed through her." The wolves stirred. "The human princess?" they hissed. Varyn's eyes burned gold. "She carries the mark of mercy. If she bears my heir, the curse ends." Silence filled the chamber. Then the oldest among them nodded slowly. "And if she refuses?" Varyn looked toward the moonlit entrance. "Then both our worlds die." In Ardiel, Evelina could bear it no longer. The cries of dying men reached her window. The scent of smoke and iron filled the air. She wrapped herself in a cloak and fled into the night, guided only by the mark glowing on her wrist. The forest swallowed her like an old friend. Behind her, the castle bells tolled, her absence discovered. Ahead, the trees parted to reveal a clearing bathed in silver light, and there he stood, waiting. "Varyn, you came," he murmured. Evelina's breath caught. "You knew I would." He reached out his hand. "Then the war has already chosen its side." She took it. Behind them, the first wolf's howl rose, a sound of both love and doom.
Chapter 5. The Blood Oath. The forest deepened into silence. Evelina followed Varyn through the mist until the ground gave way to stone, a hidden path carved beneath the mountains. Torches flickered with blue flame, illuminating symbols older than language. "This is no place of men," she whispered. Varyn glanced back, eyes reflecting the firelight. "It was once," he said, "before mercy was forgotten." The passage opened into a vast cavern, glowing with veins of crystal. Wolves stood on ledges above, not beasts, but guardians in human form, their eyes catching silver light. Evelina gasped. "You built a city beneath the world." Varyn's voice softened. "No, we survived beneath it." At the heart of the cavern stood an altar of obsidian. Upon it an ancient relic, a silver crown lined with fangs. "This was forged," said Varyn, "by the first king who bound human and wolf in peace. He fell when man betrayed that vow." He turned to her. "Your father carries that blood, but your mother—" He paused. "She was not entirely human." Evelina froze. "What are you saying?" "That you are not the curse," he said. "You are the bridge." Her breath faltered. "And if I refuse this destiny?" Varyn stepped closer. "Then the war will devour both worlds, and your blood will still be spilled, one way or another." Drums echoed through the stone halls. Elders emerged from the shadows, their forms shifting, eyes burning with judgment. "She smells of iron," hissed one, "of deceit." "She carries the moon's mark," another countered. They encircled her, chanting in an ancient tongue. Evelina felt heat rise under her skin, her mark blazing like a brand. Pain tore through her body, her heartbeat sinking with the rhythmic chant. Then silence. The eldest stepped forward, his face lined with centuries. "If she bleeds under the next full moon," he said, "she binds the oath. If she runs, she breaks it, and the blood of both realms shall flow." That night, beneath a skylight of crystal that let the moon pour in, Evelina stood before Varyn. "Why me?" she asked, her voice trembling. "Because only you were born of mercy," he said, "and mercy is the one power even fate fears." He unsheathed a dagger of bone and drew a thin line across his palm. Blood glowed gold. "Swear with me," he whispered, "to end this hunger, to bind what was broken." Evelina hesitated, tears welling. "And what if the bond consumes me?" Varyn's gaze softened. "Then I will burn with you."
She took the blade, cut her palm, and pressed it to his. The cavern erupted in light, two souls merging, one oath sealed. The light dimmed. Evelina collapsed, breath shallow, heart pounding like thunder. Varyn caught her as her body trembled in his arms. Her eyes opened, no longer human brown, but streaked with silver. "What's happening?" she gasped. "Your blood remembers," he said softly. "You are changing." From deep in the caverns, the wolves began to howl, a chorus of reverence and fear. Above, in the human world, the moon turned red once more. King Dragos awoke from a nightmare, gasping as pain shot through his arm, a wound he did not remember receiving. Far away, his daughter whispered the words that would end an age. "The moon has chosen."
Chapter 6. The Breaking of Kings. The great bells of Dragovia tolled at dawn. King Dragos stood upon the battlements, his breath forming clouds in the cold air. His face was pale, haunted by dreams of silver fire and his daughter's voice calling from shadows. "She was taken," hissed Lord Renant, the High Inquisitor. "The beasts defiled royal blood. Your Majesty, this is war." Dragos slammed his fist upon the stone. "Then let it be war." The royal court fell silent as he turned to the soldiers gathered below. "Bring me the head of every creature that walks in moonlight. Burn their dens, salt their fields, leave nothing but ash." Trumpets wailed like the cries of dying gods. The crusade of silver began. The mountains shook under the march of men. Catapults rolled across frost-bitten plains, banners snapping in the wind. Villages near the border burned, smoke rising into the heavens like offerings to a cruel god. Evelina watched from the cliffs, her heart breaking with every plume of fire. "They're slaughtering innocents," she whispered. Varyn's jaw tightened. "There are no innocents in war, only survivors." She turned to him, silver still flickering in her eyes. "Then what am I?" He paused. "The only reason I still believe mercy exists." Beneath the mountain, the Alpha Elders convened again, this time without Varyn's knowledge. "He weakens," growled one. "The human poisons his judgment." "She carries the curse," said another, "not the cure." The eldest slammed his staff upon the ground. "Then we shall force the prophecy's end." That night, as Varyn slept beside Evelina, whispers of treachery spread. Wolves gathered steel and shadows, preparing to seize the girl whose blood they both revered and feared. Evelina awoke to chaos. Torches flared, growls echoed. She ran through the tunnels, silver veins pulsing beneath her skin. "Varyn!" she screamed, as claws scraped stone behind her. He appeared, fury burning in his eyes, fending off two attackers. "They've turned against me." "Because of me!" she cried. "No," he snarled, striking one to the ground, "because they fear what they cannot control." Above them, explosions thundered. The humans had found the caverns. Stones crumbled, water poured in, screams filled the air. The world was breaking apart. Amid fire and collapse, Varyn and Evelina reached the altar. The relic, the fanged crown, glowed, humming with power. "Put it on," Varyn gasped, blood seeping from his wounds. "I can't," she whispered. "Then let it kill us both." She placed the crown upon her head, and the cavern roared to life. The moon bled crimson. Above ground, soldiers froze as silver fire poured from the mountains, turning night into day. King Dragos watched from his horse, eyes wide. "Evelina," he breathed, "what have you done?" In that moment, the Alpha King fell to his knees before her light.
The war was no longer between man and wolf. It was between gods and their mistakes.
Chapter 7. The Child of Two Moons. Silence fell upon Dragovia like snow over ash. The mountains no longer burned, but their peaks glowed faintly with silver veins, scars from the storm that tore the world open. Evelina awoke at the edge of a ruined temple. Her breath shimmered in the cold, and her heartbeat echoed like drums beneath the earth. The crown lay beside her, split into two pieces, one of silver, one of obsidian. She touched her skin. It was cold, smooth, almost luminous. Her reflection in the cracked marble showed eyes unlike any mortal's, one gold, one silver. The child of two moons had risen. A low voice whispered through the wind, "You are what neither heaven nor hell could claim." It was the spirit of the moon herself, the ancient goddess who watched over both beast and man. Varyn lay nearby, his body broken but alive. His fur was streaked with blood and moonlight. When Evelina crawled to him, he opened his eyes, weak but smiling. "You survived," she whispered. He coughed, a sound like stones grinding. "No. You survived. I am only the shadow of what you made possible." Tears fell upon his muzzle, blowing faintly as they touched his skin. The moonlight seemed to draw closer, wrapping him in soft silver mist. "I won't let you die," she said. "You can't stop what's already written," he murmured. "But promise me, Evelina, don't let them turn you into a weapon. Not your father, not my kind. You are more than blood." His chest rose once more and stilled. At the foot of the mountain, King Dragos arrived with his army. He rode through the wreckage, his crown tarnished, his heart heavy. He found his daughter, kneeling beside the fallen Alpha, her hair glowing faintly beneath the pale dawn. "Father," she said softly, not turning to face him. Dragos dismounted slowly. "What have you become?" "What you made me," she whispered, "a weapon born of hate, but tempered by love." Dragos dropped to his knees. "Forgive me." Evelina turned then, her mismatched eyes gleaming. "Forgiveness is not mine to give, but peace, that I can offer." She raised her hand, and the air shimmered, the fires of war dying with a single breath. Soldiers fell silent, weapons lowering, as moonlight swept across the battlefield like a benediction. In the years that followed, a new order rose, neither fully human nor beast. They called themselves the Lunar Creed, sworn to guard the fragile peace between worlds. Evelina became their first high keeper. She lived in the rebuilt citadel of Dragovia, walking its halls at night with the crown's broken halves hanging from her neck, a reminder of balance and sacrifice. Songs spread through villages and taverns, of the girl who ended the war not with claws, but with mercy. Children left offerings of silver leaves beneath the moon, whispering her name like a prayer. But deep within the temple ruins, beneath layers of stone and shadow, something stirred. A faint cry echoed through the caverns, not human, not wolf, but both. Wrapped in old furs, glowing faintly in the dark, lay a newborn. Its eyes mirrored Evelina's, one silver, one gold. The legacy of the Alpha King lived on. And when the moon rose full once more, its light curved gently around the infant, as if blessing what the world would soon call the heir
of the Two Moons. Chapter 8. The Heir of the Two Moons. Time passed like drifting snow across Dragovia's peaks, 2 decades since the war's last howl faded. Yet whispers of the Alpha King's breeder still lingered in firelight stories told by hunters and elders. Evelina aged with grace, her beauty unchanged, her power tempered by sorrow. Every full moon she walked to the ruins where Varyn fell. There she left white lilies and spoke softly to the wind, as if the Alpha still listened. But beneath the temple, hidden from both man and wolf, her secret lived. The boy, Lior, grew among shadows and starlight. His laughter echoed against the stones, his strength already surpassing human limits. His mother told him he was special, but never why. Until the night the blood moon rose again. The night his eyes began to glow. Lior had never felt fear before that night. The moon, usually soft and silver, turned red like flame over snow. His heartbeat thundered, a rhythm not his own. Visions tore through his mind, his father's growl, his mother's tears, fire swallowing the citadel. He fell to his knees, clutching his chest as claws tore through his skin. His first transformation had begun. Evelina rushed to him, wrapping her arms around his trembling body. "Breathe, my son. You are both light and dark, never one without the other." Her words anchored him. His bones stopped cracking. His body settled, halfway between man and wolf. His eyes, one silver, one gold, blazed in harmony. He stood taller than any man, wilder than any beast, yet calm. For the first time, the child of 2 moons had awakened, not as a curse, but a prophecy. While peace reigned in Dragovia, darkness gathered beyond its icy borders. In the northern wilderness, where moonlight rarely touched, a pack stirred, ancient, exiled, vengeful. Their leader, the Red Fang Queen, bore scars from the old war and carried hatred like a heartbeat. She believed the union of Evelina and Varyn had defiled the pure blood of the Lycans. The heir of the 2 moons must die, she declared before her pack. And so began the hunt. Messengers vanished. Wolves howled through border villages. The peace Evelina built trembled like a candle in a storm. Evelina knew this moment would come. She trained Lior herself, in combat, in restraint, in mercy. "Your strength is a weapon," she told him one evening, "but your heart decides who it serves." He looked up at her, eyes glowing faintly. "Did father choose love or duty?" She smiled sadly. "Both, and it broke him." As the wind howled through the mountains, Lior touched the split crown hanging from her neck. "Then I'll finish what he started." The way he said it, not with anger, but with quiet conviction, made her blood run cold. For she saw in him not just Varyn's power, but the same loneliness that had haunted the Alpha King. On the eve of his 20th year, Lior dreamed of a burning sky. Wolves howled across frozen rivers. A woman with crimson eyes called his name. He woke drenched in sweat, his room filled with frost and firelight swirling together. When he looked out his window, he saw it, a red flame on the horizon, signaling the beginning of war. Evelina entered, her face pale. "They've crossed the border," she whispered. Lior turned toward the night, the gold and silver in his gaze reflecting the moon. Then the world will finally learn what it means to be born of two moons. Outside, thunder rolled like growls of gods. The air had arisen, and destiny had begun to hunt him.
Chapter 9. The Red Fang Rebellion. The bells of Dragovia tolled like a dying heart. From the northern frontier came screams, echoing over the frost-bitten plains. Wolves with crimson eyes tore through the watchtowers, their claws gleaming under a red-stained moon. The Red Fang Rebellion had begun. Evelina stood on the citadel's highest balcony, her white cloak snapping in the wind. She could smell the blood, the fear, the ancient hatred reawakening. "Summon the Luna Creed," she ordered. But when the messengers turned, a voice rose behind her, strong, calm, defiant. "I'll go," said Lior. The moonlight carved his silhouette in gold and silver. He wore no armor, only the furs of his father's clan and the mark of Dragovia on his wrist. Evelina's breath caught. "You're not ready," she said. He met her gaze, steady, unflinching. Neither was he, but fate doesn't wait for readiness. The battlefield was chaos made flesh. Fire streaked across the snow like blood veins. The roars of wolves mingled with the clash of steel. Lior leapt into the fray, half human, half beast, moving like a storm given life. His claws tore through the Red Fang's front line, but his eyes, his father's eyes, carried sorrow with every strike. He saw not monsters, but lost souls driven by centuries of fear. Each kill hollowed him deeper. When he faced the Red Fang Queen herself, the world seemed to still. Her fur was white streaked with crimson, her gaze burning with wrath. "You are an abomination," she hissed, "neither king nor cub." Lior's breath fogged the air between them. "Maybe," he said, "but I am hope." They clashed, fang against fang, fury against purpose, until the snow turned to steam. While the battle raged, Dragovia itself burned. The citadel's spires crumbled under the Red Fang's assault. Evelina fought like a goddess reborn, her powers bending moonlight into blades. Yet even she could not hold the storm forever. As she stood defending the final gate, a traitor from within, a councilman twisted by greed, opened the portcullis. The Red Fangs flooded in. Evelina turned, fury and betrayal flashing in her eyes. "You doom us all," she cried. The traitor only whispered, "Better wolves than witches." And with that, he fell beneath his own guilt, struck by a falling beam of silver fire as the temple collapsed around them. When the smoke cleared, the Red Fang Queen lay dying, penned beneath the ruins. Lior limped toward her, blood dripping from his claws. He could have ended her, avenged his father, his home, his mother's pain. But he didn't. Instead, he knelt beside her, eyes filled not with rage, but sorrow. "You wanted purity," he said quietly, "but the moon itself was never pure. It waxes and wanes, just like us." The queen's breathing slowed. "You sound like him," she rasped. "Who?" Her gaze softened. "Varyn, the Alpha King. He spared me once, during the First War." A single tear fell from her crimson eye. And then, silence. The wind shifted. The battle ended. Mercy had triumphed where vengeance once ruled. When dawn came, Dragovia was ash and silver dust. The Red Fang Rebellion was over, but the cost was unbearable. Evelina stood among the ruins, her hand trembling as she touched her son's face. "You did what even I couldn't," she whispered. "You chose compassion." Lior looked at the rising sun, the first in months that wasn't red. "I didn't win," he said softly. "I survived." From the mountain's edge he cast the two halves of the ancient crown into the valley below. "Let no one rule again through fear," he declared. "If we are to survive, we must walk as one, under one moon." And as he spoke, the moon itself dimmed, as if bowing to him. The era of kings had ended. The age of peace, fragile, uncertain, had begun.
Chapter 10. The Moon's Last Promise. Dragovia healed slowly, like an old wound learning to close. Smoke no longer rose from its spires. Instead, wildflowers grew where blood had fallen. The rivers, once red with battle, ran clear again, carrying whispers of the dead into the sea. Lior walked the rebuilt streets in silence. Children laughed, chasing the soft white wolves that now roamed freely among them. For the first time in generations, man and beast shared the same firelight. But his heart was heavy. Every night he dreamed of the Alpha King, his father's eyes staring back through fog and flame. "You ended the war," said one of the villagers as he passed. "You're a hero." Lior smiled faintly, though sorrow shadowed his gaze. "No," he murmured, "I'm a reminder." Above him the moon shone, neither full nor new, balanced, watching. Evelina's power had begun to fade. Each year after the war took something from her, her strength, her sight, her breath. One evening, as silver rain fell over Dragovia, she summoned Lior to the old temple where everything began. The broken crown still hung from her neck, glowing faintly. "My time is ending," she said, voice soft but steady. "The moon calls me home." Lior fell to his knees. "Then let me follow you." She smiled, placing a trembling hand on his cheek. "No, my son. The world still needs a bridge, not another ghost." Her final words echoed through the temple. "Remember, mercy built peace. Never forget that mercy costs." When the rain stopped, she was gone, her body dissolved into light, leaving behind only the scent of lilies and the sound of calm wind. That night Lior climbed the mountain where his father once fell. The storm raged around him, lightning flashing like silver veins through the clouds. He reached the summit, where the two halves of the crown still lay buried beneath frost. As he touched them, his father's voice filled the air, deep, mournful, proud. "You carry what I could not finish," said Varyn's spirit. "Love, in its truest form, is sacrifice." Lior bowed his head. "Then I will live as both your son and mother's heir, the bridge between darkness and dawn." Thunder rolled. The two halves of the crown fused in his hands, glowing with blinding white light. Not a crown of rule, but a halo of unity. The storm stilled, and in that silence both spirits faded, leaving Lior standing alone beneath the moon, transformed not into a king, but into a guardian. Years passed. Under Lior's guidance, the lunar creed became not soldiers, but healers, storytellers, peacekeepers. The wolves no longer hunted in fear. Humans no longer hid behind fire. Together they rebuilt what war had stolen. In every village a statue rose, not of kings or conquerors, but of a woman with silver eyes holding a wolf's paw. Beneath it an inscription carved in both claw and hand. "We are not beasts of war. We are children of the same moon." And every full moon, Lior would stand on the balcony of the citadel, eyes to the sky, whispering, "Guide me, mother. Watch me, father. Let peace never grow silent." Some said the moon shone brighter on those nights, as if answering. In the twilight of his years, Lior wandered into the forest alone, the scent of pine and snow thick in the air. He stood by the river where Evelina once sang, his reflection rippling beneath the moonlight. A soft breeze carried a familiar sound, a distant howl, ancient and welcoming. He closed his eyes and smiled. "I'm coming home." His body shimmered, dissolving into mist, his spirit joining the chorus of wolves across the mountains. The wind rose, carrying his final words through the night. Peace is not the absence of war. It's the courage to forgive. And when dawn came, the moon remained in the sky a little longer, as if reluctant to let go. Centuries later, Dragovia became legend, its ruins buried beneath snow and time. But on clear nights, when the twin moons rise over the northern peaks, travelers swear they hear it, a soft, unending howl carried by the wind. Some say it's the Alpha King and his breeder, watching over the world they once healed. Others believe it's the air, reminding the living that love, once born, never dies. And so, the story of the Alpha King's breeder lives on not as a tale of monsters, but of mercy.